I think that we have a wrong understanding of what meditation is in the West. And that's why we don't reach our goal no matter how much effort and energy we put into it. So, Sister, come over this way. So, yeah. How much effort we put into it, you know. Um, it's hard to teach meditation when you already have an idea of what you think it is. Because then what's taught is like, that's not meditation. Because meditation is like sitting here, stilling the mind. And, that's like stilling the mind, that's like opening the door and coming in. You don't just open the door and stand in the archway, but you have to enter the room. So the archway is just the means by which, or that you enter the room. So meditation is a lot like that. And when we have sold it as standing in the archway, and we think that that's what it is, then we don't make much progress. So I'd like to talk a little bit before we go more into what meditation is, like why we meditate. So we have to have a reason. If our reason is because we want to calm our mind, then we should know that basically we want to stand in the doorway. Now, if you're coming from outside the room to the inside the room, how much time do you spend in the doorway? Right, not much. Just about as much time as it takes to step over a threshold. So when we think about long periods of meditation, you can begin to see why it may not get you to the goal that the Buddha was talking about. Now, if we compare amongst ourselves, maybe who could sit the longest is the greatest. But in terms of actually entering into passing through the outer to the inner, these inner realms, these points, these dhatus, they call them, these realms of clarity. The time should be spent in the realms of clarity. So while my body might be still, there is something else taking place. So one reason, we meditate is that it protects us from wrongdoing. It protects us from wrongdoing. Now, to protect ourselves from wrongdoing, we have to be aware of right thoughts and wrong thoughts. So I can't be using meditation as a protection when there has not been given any thought to right actions and wrong actions. So necessarily to get into a certain state, I have to discover, clearly see, identify, and see the danger in something, and sincerely want to drop it off. So all of that has to occur before a state of meditation can be achieved. It, meditation makes us strong and it makes us fruitful in our endeavors. How does it do that? Because we have let the act of protection take place. So there's something that we have to see, recognize, abandon in order to take up a different kind of mind. And it gives clarity and stability, so you lose your confusion. You no longer wonder what is going on. Why is this going on? What's happening? I feel uneasy. There's something, you lose that confusion because things become crystal clear to you. Now, sometimes when things become crystal clear, it's too hard to even take it. It's like I can't bear it. I can't bear knowing it. I can't bear walking through it. I know what this means, or I have to make a choice or a decision, and it's too hard. I don't even want to go there with it right now. I'll look at it tomorrow or 6 months from now, or I'll just like la 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 la. I'm not hearing you. It doesn't give us the strength, the capacity, the I don't want to say the boldness, the fearlessness to recognize what something is. I mean, sometimes it's not like it just came up. It's like been there all along, but I sort of like put my blinders up because I don't want to see that. I don't want to have to deal with it. You know, ignorance is bliss. I'll just hope for the best. I, and that's why you have so-called meditators, but they have no wisdom, no strength, no tenacity, no just no ability, you know, to handle the affairs of life because they either can't see it or they feel impotent in the face of it. And so that's why we have to do certain things. That's why we have to learn the Dharma, number one. You know, we have to study principles while we take up certain precepts, and you know, and we do that so that we can develop some inner strength to be able to handle things. It's like I was in the bed for almost 2 weeks, and I could hardly stand up just to go to the bathroom because my muscles just got, you know, well, they weren't atrophied, but they were so weak, could hardly carry, like just in 2 weeks. Maybe that's an old thing, I don't know. But is everybody? Yeah. So I saw the danger of staying in the bed, even if you're sick, you know. You don't feel like moving, you don't feel like doing things, you don't feel like you don't feel like you don't feel like. And how we have to go beyond our feelings sometimes if we want things to resolve themselves. We have to go beyond how we feel. And we can encourage ourselves that either this won't change because I can't address it, or it will change, you know, regardless of how I feel. And we have to resolve ourselves that sometimes this is going to feel uncomfortable. And at that time, I can remind myself that however I may have felt about anything, it never lasted. I've had some really bad feelings about things, either because my mind was like just in a really bad space. It's my fault. It might not have even been happening the way I'm thinking it happened, you know. But I am in such a funk, so tired, you know, that I see it this way, and it creates a feeling. And what do I do then when I'm feeling this way? Uh, then I can remember the teaching and the training that a feeling, it arises, it abides, and it leaves. The only way it doesn't leave is if I grasp hold to it and refuse to let it go. Just refuse, just stubborn, refuse to let it go. Then it sticks around for a long time. But if I'm looking at a challenge and I'm saying, this too shall pass, and I'm going to help it, you know, by doing what I know, the best I know to do, to walk in what creates another situation with the outcome that's more suitable. And like, what do we want it? What's the primary thing we want? Um, we say liberation. We say living because we just want to be happy, you know. Yeah, we just want to be happy. That's all. And so it depends on what over time is your happy. What is your happy? You know? At one time, you know, having my spouse was my happy. At one time, you know, being with my children, that was my happy. That gave me my greatest happiness. At one time, oh, I just loved, I would basically, when I was in college in the fine arts, I would basically live at school. A matter of fact, a number of us did. We didn't even go home. We would just get really quiet and lock the doors to the studio rooms so that when the night guard came by, he thought the campus was emptied out, and we stayed there all night, you know, because that was our happy. I had my baby when I was in college, and we took one of the rooms and made it a nursery, so it didn't even have to leave, and we'd take turns taking care of her. Yeah, that was my happy. My favorite composer. I'm telling you all these things that's in us. Was Chopin, and one of our teachers was he was like a expert on Chopin's technique and so forth. And because of that, I fell in love with him. And when he told me one day after going places with him, I mean, we never, it was never around sex. This love was around Chopin, you know, and my desire to be a concert pianist, and he was my greatest composer. And we sit for hours in the evening, and he would play, and he would show me techniques and things like that. In my own head, that was what love was. In my head, that was my thinking. It wasn't his. So when I started talking about when we were going to really be together, you know, like have a life together, he said, I have to tell you, I'm not going to leave my wife. And that broke everything for me. It broke everything. Next thing I knew, I was trying to jump out a 6-story window, and they had taken me to the St. Elizabeth, you know, and they called them insane asylums then. They were taking me that because I felt like I couldn't live without him. and it killed my desire for that life, everything. So what I'm saying to you is, we think in universal terms about things, and there is a space for that. But first, one has to untie our individual knots. We can't see the big picture if we haven't seen the small picture. And actually, all we have to work on is the small picture. So when he's talking about meditating when you're sitting, standing, walking, and lying down, he's talking about at all times one's mind should be sharp, crystal clear, focused on what is in here, not what is out there. So as long as we're still looking out there, we will be impotent. We will not be able to enter into meditation because it's not found out there. It's not. It comes from clearly seeing something so that what is not real falls away. Not what is real, but what is not real falls away. And if we don't understand this, then we take it for what do you call it when you want a little relaxation, or when you want to calm and steady your mind so that you can go back out there and conquer the world. But it is a trajectory into a liminal space that takes you beyond the illusory dimension of this world. And that's what the jhanas are. So this process leading to jhana requires first that we see something. We have the ability to observe ourselves. Yeah. Can I really observe myself? If what I see there is too ugly, then I like stop looking. Like I don't really want too much information. Yes. It's like too much information. So we stop looking. We don't want to see. We don't want to know. Well, because it means that we have to change. And some of us like ourselves the way we are. Some of us don't like ourselves the way we are, but we think it's going to be too hard to change. We're afraid, some of us. But if I try and fail, what if I jump from the frying pan into the fire? And so we don't. But this true ability to observe ourselves and to look at our problems with an idea that we can solve it is huge. It's what allows you to be in the sticky spaces. It's what allows you to see the bus coming. Like, dang, it's going to hit me. But it allows me to see it and stand, because I know that this too will pass when I pass it on. It will pass. It will pass because the outer circumstance will change, or it will pass because my inner landscape will change how I see it, or enable me to make the change I need to have a different future. And when the future's unknown, only the past is known, we have an inclination to lean towards the past rather than to have the a bravery to approach the future. So it takes a lot of bravery to be able to get out of Samsara. Yes, can't say I want to get out of Samsara. Like, can I blink? But we actually have to go through things. So if you've been going through something right now and you're saying this does not feel good, then don't worry, because you're right where you need to be. You know how you have an eureka moment? You could never have that eureka moment if you have not been going through the travail of investigation, you know, and you just can't find it. You just can't fix it. You just can't get it right. You just don't know what to do. And then you just exhaustedly drop it. And then all of a sudden, when you're no longer stressing because you think you have the answer is, it manifests right in front of you like, eureka, I know what I do. But what we were talking about last night, that was not a eureka moment. I woke up in the morning thinking, what were we thinking last night? Someone, I'm not even going to tell y'all what it was. No, no. Well, I think you brought it up, so I think no. But we were like thinking, you know, the hotel that we looked at a few years ago, and in Georgia for the college, we were going to transform it into the college, and it was causes and conditions didn't allow, but it has never left my mind, and conditions are even less likely now, right? But still, it never left my mind, and I didn't remember the name of it. Soma did, and we both got on our computers and we looked it up. We said, "Oh yeah, it was perfect. It would be perfect for what our idea of what, you know, the academy was going to be in our head. It was majestic. It was worthy of Buddha Master. That's the biggest thing, you know. I could be in a hovel, but it had the kind of nobility that was that would be a right station for his teachings. It would had the right image. It had the right everything for how I hold the teachings. You know, that's what I'm saying. And so we like reminisced for a minute or something like that. I woke up this morning on December 19th in 2023. I woke up to today, the present moment, and I was like, what were we thinking last night? I was like, no. I said, I'm just telling you, don't even think about that anymore. That is an unwholesome thought, unless somebody gives us $2 million. And that's a different thing. But it's like that. What I'm saying is we create or block solutions with our own mind. If we really understood the power of the mind, and the only way we can understand it is to look at it. We have to look at it. So there comes a time that we put away so much of the writings because that starts to get in our head. And because it gets in our head, we think we know it. But we're not really living it moment by moment. And so we have to turn away from that and live into, it's like uh, um, Teo growing into his daddy's shoes. We have to grow into the Dharma that's in our head. We have to actually grow into that Dharma, not just carry it around in our head. We have to actually grow into it. And it's only then will you start to get the benefit of it. You won't get the benefit by reading it. You won't get the benefit by regurgitating it. You only get the benefit by walking it out. And that's the tough part. So first one thinks the truth out. You know, what is true? What is true in this situation? What is happening here? How should I think about that? It says, but day and night we have to bend our energies towards that truth rather than having an aversion to it. We have to bend towards the truth as it unfolds or as it awakens, you know, throughout our daily life. In every, how many of you? I like for you to talk now. I want to know how many. Like as you go through the day, what are you thinking about throughout the day? Just click back for a minute and share. Because this is the only way you know where you are in the Dharma. Mm-hmm.
Well, been waking up at 4:30 to 5:30 instead of 6 and 6:30. And that used to be, how do I go back to sleep? And now I go, oh, got up and sit. Got through this one day and started pensions just to keep my battles for the day. And I feel accompanied now instead of something that I was setting as an external intention. It's become more internal. And through the day, I try to just stay present with, if I'm making fudge, I'm making fudge.
Can they hear her online?
Or yes, because he's running the microphone.
Okay.
I'm getting the microphone.
Okay. All right.
People that are on the far side here.
All right, good. Okay, and setting your intention. So that's how, setting your intention. Then when you're doing things, you're just doing them.
Yes. And listening to how you preface some of this, it was like that falseness of, I can watch myself sometimes go, well, I don't like reality because I don't like the options that reality gives me. And now I'm going, well, I can't change that. So what's the best way through it? Or
Mhm. And how does it make you feel about life and about yourself?
I feel well-being.
A greater sense of well-being. Thank you. Even if you said, I don't like reality, I don't like what's happening right now, can you see how much progress that is? To be able to just look at it and not be bewildered, just looking at it and saying, this is hard, or I have difficulty with this. Being able to see it, to acknowledge it. Acceptance is more about being able to see what's in front of you and acknowledge that it's there. That takes a tremendous amount of courage.
Hold it without going nuts.
Yes, yeah, yeah. It's because the mind loses its mind when it can't control things. Yeah.
Venerable, I'd like to share if that's okay. I would say, not a sense of well-being, for me, it's, and I'll make this quick, but, the past year, I would call it almost a spiritual crisis, a lot of internal,
Mhm.
pressure and I would say throughout the day that, there's always this internal dialogue that doesn't stop. I think you know that already. And trying to figure things out, force things and always, trying to control things. And then there's this tension because a part of me knows, following this path for 6 years, that the only way I'm going to get clear is to get on the path. But it's a struggle every second of every minute and every hour of the day for me. And that's not a lie. That is the truth. And I still don't have any answers, but I'm getting back on the path so I can get more clear and shift with whatever is happening within me. So I would say this has been a really, really hard year, and trying to figure out a way to get out of, it. So
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, so when we think that we're not making progress, sometimes we talk about get back on the path. But if one is looking, just really seeing what is in front of them, they are on the path. The path is just rocky right now, but we're on the path. We don't have to always think we're not on the path because the path is rocky. It's the part about being the controller and the fixer is the part that's askew, you know. And so we have to, if I want to be able to lift 200 pounds, I have to start by being able to lift these weights, and I have to work at it every day. But then there'll come a time when I don't have to work on it so hard because I'm not trying to fix it. I'm trying to really see it until I understand what is the cause of this. And when I see what the cause is, then I'm moving towards there being, a cure. But if I can't see the cause, he talks about the four noble truths, that there's the truth of suffering. Suffering has a cause. And if you don't know the cause, you don't know the prescription. You don't know what medicine you need to take for that. And so there's the truth of this unsatisfactoriness, and it's not always so like obvious to you. It's just that life is unsatisfactory. Why do you think life is unsatisfactory? It's because that which is our essential nature is encased in all of this delusion that has us tied and hindered and bound up. If you were tied up in ropes, wouldn't you know you were tied up in ropes? So there is that intrinsic nature that knows that it's tied up in ropes. That's why life this is unsatisfactory. We're already aware.
Your question was what are we doing and what are we thinking about day to day? And honestly, it depends on where I am in the spectrum. My vow sort of for this year was to take a deeper ownership of the amazing opportunity that I've been given with my life, and particularly with encountering the magnitude and the depth and the profundity of the teachings and the teacher that I have, as well as honoring my son and my family, and not like not having them live in an environment of criticism and dissatisfaction. And so pertaining to that, like honestly, some days I'm thinking about how I can bring forth the opposite of that in my life. And then sometimes honestly I get caught. And when I'm in my suffering, it's we're at the center of our own drama. We can't see anything else because we're the only piece on the Monopoly board. And part of going deeper into like our own essential nature is stripping the blockages, And I'll tell you a secret, like I've never really liked the holidays. For some people, like the holidays are a dangerous word. And I've never really liked getting a new job or going into that. And you gave a talk, I think it was a week or two ago, and it was like, you keep taking us back to all the taints, Must have done it now like 15, 20 times. And I listened to that one and I realized like, oh wow, she's actually telling us like, if you really want to know your mind, you got to be a deep carpenter of this. You got to understand like when to use the level, when to use the chisel, when to apply the glue, And so I was looking deeply at why I experience unhappiness and dissatisfaction around the holidays.
Mhm.
And and why I experienced that same thing in relation to finding an expression of myself in the world. And honestly, it's what I came up with. It's faulty programming. It's a view that says you don't have you'll never have like a good expression of that. Like you're not worthy of that. Like that's not in the cards for you. And this when that view is concretized at the forefront and it's subtle, then all of my thinking and my thoughts and my patterns come out of that. And it doesn't feel good. And honestly, like I've been reading this line in the Heart Sutra where the Buddha Master says, like, you suffer essentially because of the dust and the ignorance that is built up in your consciousness over time. And that's all that thing is, like that part of me that says like, or that thinks, or that view, it's just dust. And so then I looked through like the taints and said, which one of these really is going to help me uproot this? Because I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want my son to be in the field. Like I want to be able to have a holiday that's joyful, and I want to be able to see the next expression of myself in a career to come from a place of like possibilities and what I have to offer, not into like a grasping that comes out of those views. And so what I've come up with in terms of those antidotes, and is to really to see deeply and to be willing to abandon it. And like you told us a couple weeks ago, sometimes when we're in the thick of this, we have to kind of really sit at our altar and ask for help from behind in a sincere way.
And we can ask for help from on high, and we can ask for help down low. It's sometimes what I want to say is, and I hope people will hear me well. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you something, and I wondered whether it was beneficial, but I think it leans towards beneficial. So I had an extended doctor's visit a couple of weeks ago, and at the midway through this, and he was asking me a lot of questions. He said, Paniwati, I think you're depressed.
You what?
Depressed. He said, I think you're depressed, and I would like you to talk to someone. I said, well, I don't think I am. He said, I know you don't, but
I was gonna say, that over you.
I said, it would be impossible for me to be, it'd be impossible for me to be depressed, because I have a certain view of life. I said, my sadness is genuine, I said, my sadness is genuine because I feel prevented from doing something, and it's the only reason that I have any interest in remaining in the world, and the way the circumstance is, I'm prevented from what I consider fulfilling my destiny, and if I can't really do that, then there's many other places to be, and I don't mind being in those places. Matter of fact, I check out sometimes, and I'm like not just checking out, I'm checking in to those worlds, and there's other things for me to do, and I can continue to grow and perfect, myself for eventual Buddhahood. I don't need to just hang around because, this is all there is. And he said, "See that right there? That's is what is what I'm talking about." And he said, "You're my friend. I've been your doctor for 20 years." And he said, "Would you listen to me? Would you do this? Would you do this for me?" And then he said, "And can I pray for you?" And then he asked, for he prayed for me. And so this, but what I'm saying to you is that if you have a toothache, it's no point going to see, maybe it is, but no point going to see a brain surgeon. So if you consider the Buddha of brain surgery, but you have a cavity, go see the doctor the dentist who works with cavities, That's what I'm saying. The Dharma heals it is not designed for taking care of every issue we have from a worldly perspective. We have different helps for that. And sometimes to solve it's not a replacement for psychotherapy. It's not a replacement for like if you broke, you got to get a job. You got to go see a job search counselor. You can't, not the Buddha for that, And what we can develop a tendency to do is say that this handles everything in our life. And I want to make this really clear to everybody. It does not negate your responsibility for taking care of things on a worldly level. That's why he said, all worldly Dharma is Buddha Dharma, And so we need to really know our limits and our capacities and for being able to solve our problems. And he knew my doctor. He knew that he couldn't say things to me and help me find my own inner wisdom, because that's not what he's trained in. That's not what he does. So he didn't try to be that therapist to me. So he said, "Can I pray for you?" That's what he offered, And I accepted that as his offering. And I am going to talk. And that doesn't diminish anything for me. If you look at all of the saints when they go through, and I don't feel like this. I said, first of all, I'm not in a dark night of the soul. No, I'm really not. I said, I don't know exactly what I'm in, but I know I'm not like stuck like behind this mysterious wall. I'm not having a dark night of soul. I have had them before, but that's not what I'm having now. He said, well, what are you having? And I said, well, I don't know. He said, that's my point. He said, you can spend a long time working your way through this, but with the right support, you can like zip, you can just unpack and see this. And then you can get on about your work. He said, because there's no reason. He said, your body is not really breaking down for medical reasons. Your body is breaking down because you're not keeping it alive. You're not supporting, giving it what it needs because you don't care. But if you want to be able to do the work you have to do, you have to care about that. And then I talked to Soma and told him what he said. And I've been thinking on that, you see. I'm just looking, trying to find the wisdom. Am I depressed about Panyadeepa? No. About Buddha Master? No. Then what is it that I cannot see a way for me to finish the work that I want to do? And I can't see a way right now to do what I do in its best way because I physically don't have the energy. And that makes me, I think that does make me sad. So we can have good friends just in a worldly way that help us with their brightnesses, with their skills, and with their guidance. For one who's never felt adequate, never felt truly loved, or not loved by the one they expected to love them, then a holiday can be a very tough time. And it's a time when one needs support, and there are supports if one will accept, and one will support if one truly hears the cry. Even if it's the same cry, being attentive and paying attention. That's what the Sangha is for. Right now, I'm working on maybe my constant companion is the Dharma. But I have people who have given their lives basically for me. Like Kay. I'm like her whole life. Her cooking for me, washing my clothes, buying a house so that I have some place to live. Every car before the one you gave me, Kay got for me. Just taking care of her. I'm her whole life. But the Dharma is my whole life. So I see and don't see Kay. I saw and didn't see Deepa. I see and don't see my daughter, because all of this is a distant second to where I am right now on the path. But I have to high up things. And I have to do them in a right way. And it's causing me to have to step back and make sure everything is set with my daughter. To make sure that when Kay sits home all day waiting for me to come home, I come home, say, hey, Kay, and off to my room. And she comes running out to sit to talk. I don't want to chit chat. You know, I don't have any interest in that conversation. No. But I have to take the time to do that. And what I'm finding is I've learned more about Kay in the past year than I have in the 20 years that she's been there for me. And I have to, this is my offering. This is my Dharma practice. This is my work. But I've just been consumed and subsumed by my thoughts about me. And so it's a shift for me. I don't even know how to do it. The minute our conversation leaves Dharma, like I'm through. But to save living beings, you have to be present for them. So that's what's lacking in me. That ability to be present in a certain way for them. I was not a good pastor because I would get a word of wisdom, a word of knowledge, and I loved, I loved the word. And if you dipped your toe in it, then me and you were good. But the minute you stepped out of it, it had no use for you because I was in love with the word. So a pastor's in love with his flock, and I couldn't do it. But if I wanted to be effective, I had to learn how to do it. And I had to love learning how to do it. And I had to love doing it. So this is what I'm talking about. It starts to get a little rough and rocky at this end. And especially when you start to see your faults. And you really see them. If the teaching is right, it's like a light. It says it's the Buddha light. And we feel like it might be killing us, but it's saving us. Because it's helping us to really see things as they are. And we have to go through this stage. And I'm willing to go through it because I'm genuine in my aspiration. Not just because I know that on the other side of that, there's going to be, the fruits of goodness, but because if I don't conquer it, how can I live? So meditation is being in these states that are truer and truer and closer to our intrinsic mind. And anytime we are out of it, we know. So what do? We stand there and we have to face it and we can overcome it. And we do it with helps. There are worldly helps. There's celestial help. So part of our meditation involves the petitioning of those who can help in the higher realms and also utilizing the brightnesses of people in this world without shame, without fear, without guilt. Just take care of it. Just use what you need to use, is what I want to say. and don't play so spiritual. No, like I'm all right. Because if your all rightness is the best that there is to offer, we're all sunk. Okay? Yeah, so this is an opportunity for us to get real and to sweep out the corners, the things that have uh, captured and overwhelmed us. And most of that, if you really look at it, will boil down to seeing one's own deficiencies. And because we haven't wanted to see them, we see them in others, or we just forget about them in ourselves. But we're being asked to take a look because that's where your suffering is. It's not out here. It's in here. And the freedom that we inherit as a result of this, the world can't give it to you. Now, I wanted to say that because I know that sometimes when, something's like a broken record and it's said over and over and over, and you're like, oh, there you go. But you have to really, really, compassion demands that we listen and that we pay attention. It says, Avalokiteshvara, one who hears the cries of living beings and responds with compassionate action. And as we're at this holiday season, pay attention to the people that you love, the people that are around you, even to the people that you don't know. And that's a way that we can be a bodhisattva. So this is not for stress relief, this practice that we do, but it is for us waking up and then taking up the capacities that we already possess to save living beings. And that includes saving ourselves. I didn't really know the talk was going to go this way. But whatever's real is real. That's what I want to say. And we don't have to try to cover it up with spiritual talk. So you can feel heard, seen, know, so that you can hear, see, and respond. And we all have the capacity to do that. Some on a big scale, some on a little scale. And this is where we step out of theological speak, Dharma jargon, and we just become available. Oh, I have to end early today because we're in the recording session. I want to leave a little space, maybe 10 more minutes, if there's anything that anybody wants to share right now.
Venerable?
Yes.
Hi, it's Jim.
Yes.
I just want to thank you and honor you for being willing to be so real. It inspires me to do the same. At this stage in my life, a lot of memories are coming up of when I have really missed the mark in my life. And some of it is really painful to look at, much less talk about. And your example of making yourself so real and vulnerable helps me to be honest with myself and to actually take these memories and be instructed by them rather than simply feeling guilty. So thank you.
I've been listening to you for a better part of 6 years, and I've always been drawn to you because you've been so real. You straight talk and a little scary at times, but so real. And today, man, I don't even, Jim has just a beautiful way of articulating. And I just want to say, man, today was just so real. It's almost like breaking my heart open in a really beautiful way. And shifting me to just be present and to show up with love the best I can for myself and for others. So for that, I thank you so much. And I also love you very much. So thank you.
So I too have had some pretty crazy Christmas times in my life. And so it's interesting because when I look at my past and I have conversations with other people about Christmas, and I think, I really didn't have that much trauma in my life. And then I look at what it was, and it was pretty traumatic. But the thing that I learned, not from meditation, from someone else, the thing that I learned is it's not necessarily the trauma. It's what we made up about ourselves, which is the big lie. Lies like worthless. Then the other question is, what do we need to be worthy of? So that was a big insight. And so I've been sitting with that more and more lately, and like all of the scary stuff, the idea that it's not real, we made it up, and don't even need to do anything with it, but just notice that it's there and it doesn't run my life anymore. And all of those other things that show up day to day that are part of that lie. One lie, there's other lies too. But it's not the trauma that happened. It's not what somebody did to me. It's what I made up about myself. That is not true. Thank you.
And it's real eyes, real lies, real lies. It was something we used to draw when we were like in high school or something, middle school. I don't know. It was funny, but I thought about it recently and it's just reminding me of this. It came up like a couple weeks ago. I was like, oh, I need to send this to Venerable. But it's like we're becoming, I'm realizing just how incorrect I am pretty much all the time.
Seriously?
Like, why else am I here?
Yeah.
And so, thank you for doing your work because it opens something within me and it connects me to everybody more deeply. So thank you.
So I have another confession.
Yeah.
Just like you were saying, it how when you're, we hear these things like when you're chopping, just chop, and when you're sitting, just sit, and when you, but I don't. When I'm sitting, I'm reflecting, constantly. When I say something, as soon as I said it, I'm thinking like about what I said and whether it's wholesome or not wholesome. It's like that's that kind of, some of the things we hear sound really good, and we're trying to work ourselves into them, you know. But the way into them is not really the way that we think. You know, I mean, I'm really trying to get real now because, you know, I'm making my New Year's resolution. I'm to cut all the bullshit out. I'm making a New Year's, you know, resolution. And I know where, you know, what's behind door number 1 and door number 2 and door number 3. You know, and that's why Buddha Master is constantly dealing with us about honesty, about integrity, about, you know, being real, about you know, just let your thoughts, speech, and action line up. You know, don't be fake. Like he's always saying all of these kinds of things. And because that is the way of escape. That's the doorway to freedom. And anytime we cover up, you know, something, and that when I say cover up, I don't mean like now you're gonna tell everybody your business, because people can't handle your business, okay? So I don't mean it that way, but I mean within one's own self. And we look and see what is the benefit in something. If we will never abandon a thing if we think it has some benefit. So we have to really come to the end of seeing something as having a benefit, you know, whether it's, well, because they didn't love me, I'll like be sad with these people, and because these are loving people, so these people will love me, you know. I mean, so I see a benefit in being with them in my sadness because they give me the love that my mother didn't give me, or something like that. You know, I mean, it's the ways our mind have associated cause and cure that's so out of line. But it starts with there was a movement. So I started to say radical honesty, but there was a radical honesty movement, and that was a movement where everybody was just telling everybody off. That was, you know, just telling them what I really think about you. You know, and I'm just being radically honest, okay? So that got all messed up. Yeah, that was a bad one. But he's asking us to be radically honest with ourselves. And there's something so liberating in that, because then you can get to the root of something, you know, and you can decide where you stand with things, you know, what you trust and don't trust, and what is the level of trust that you have, you know. And I began to realize that I'm feeling prevented from walking out my truth. I'm feeling prevented by some causes, and because of that, I'm mad. I've learned how to hold it better, to not offend others. And that's been a work. Yeah. But I can see I'm still mad about it. And I believe that there is some power exerted over me by the spiritual systems that have taken root, you know, that keep me from walking out my truth. And if I don't walk out my truth, I can't live. And so it's forcing my hand in a certain way. And I worry about those that may pay a price for my actions. I'm trying to figure out how to sever my actions from what other people feel inclined or encouraged to do, so that they won't suffer because of choices that I make. And it crosses a lot of, you know, it goes a lot of covers a lot of territory, a lot of territory. And this me being real this year. And many have not been able to handle how real I have been in the past. So I know that this is going to be a deal breaker in some ways. And but that's where I am. I only have a little bit of time left. And I'm cutting the feather. I wish I had cut more when I was younger and had more strength. But better late than never. So I'm fairly radical. And but I want to be free. Okay, remember you said that, okay? Nancy said it. Yeah, yeah. I'm feeling stronger already. And like my little grandson said, don't be scared. Okay, anybody else want to say anything? It's been a lovely time with you today. And I want you to know that every one of you is seen and heard. Everyone.
I'll say one more thing, right? I guess I've always kind of felt that our relationship's been a little contentious.
You did.
Yeah. But honestly, mostly it's just because I was,
So when you would say to me, I don't like you, you meant that for real? Because he will say it.
this is coming from somebody who tells me stuff like, you'll teach the ones that are BSers good because you're very skilled in that. Like, you-
That's right.
I still see a deep unhappiness in you. No, what I want to say is honestly, like, I think, I mean, I'm speaking for myself, but I feel like I'm reading the room, and I think we're lucky to have somebody who really who points deeply and who doesn't just say the things that we want to hear. That's not how you really change. You gotta see that the stains in your underwear to really wanna, you know what I mean though? Like to really wanna like to uproot it. And honestly, I know I felt like the entire year you kept coming back to learning to actually be okay with seeing that stuff and for pointing it out in yourself and having others point it out. And then, like actually being like, oh, it's actually a good thing that I see it. And then, a step further even be because it means we're not at the center of our own drama.
Mhm.
And that's the space where there's actually workability.
Yeah.
So, we appreciate you holding that space for us, And I will do my best. I will do my best to reflect the goodness and the peace and the beauty that you are and that you provide for us. And I will do my best to not have my neediness, come in and to be okay when you point out that it's there. And I want you to know that we know that you're an exceptional human being.
Mm.
Straight up, like we know that, we feel that. And like it blows my mind. I'm like, there should be thousands of people here hearing this. And then I realized thousands of people just really aren't ready to do the work that it takes to overcome. So we see all that, and we love the Dharma in you, and we love you.
Thank you. makes me feel better. My daughter wants to get together with me over the holidays. And I'm like, I don't want to. I mean, you need anything, call me. I'm here for you. I'll give it to you. Um, I just wanted to be here, you know. Mm. Somebody want to offer up. This was a lovely offering to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas today.
May we come together, bring our hearts together and our intentions together, and really dedicate all of our practice, all of our sitting, all of our listening to all of our parents everywhere. We're suffering because of what we do, and true freedom comes from doing the work. So may they realize that, and may they follow the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas.
Thank you. And I wanted to say, in case my daughter is listening, maybe I shouldn't leave that tag hanging. You know, part of this is unpacking why I don't want to. And maybe it's because, as you all said, I feel that I've been insufficient as a parent, you know? Because I always, not that I didn't love them, but I always had this kind of driving spiritual agenda. That was everything. And I'm having to learn to love at a different level. And feeling inadequate, like not knowing what to do with her, what to say. We don't have the same languaging. That's me being aware of my insufficiency as a mother. Yeah. But this is the year for me to handle that, you see. And I will.